There's gonna be a nice catalog of how jittery we get as we talk.
I drink a lot of coffee, so I'm
This will actually just like
fuck me up.
my whole day up.
This coffee is like kind of hitting me now.
Oh, for real? But I think maybe
That's okay.
We're here at Larry's.
Larry's, yes.
Asking you some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask just like how you started? Like where, coming from Rutgers, going into work with J. Cole, Dreamville, and then now having carved this niche for yourself and not being defined by one thing. Mm-hmm. Where did this all start?
Well, it started before college, but not long before college. I wasn't someone that had like a, Super 8 camera that I was, tinkering with as a child.
Yeah, like the backyard shooting with my friends sort of story. Yeah,
I did dabble in different forms of art making.
Yeah.
Music's always kind of been a part of it. But at the end of high school, a friend of mine who I met in English class was telling me and the class that he was going to film school, which I thought was so cool that he was doing.
Yeah.
I did not know that was something that was even available.
Yeah.
But I'd always appreciated films growing up. And when I found out that he was, a photographer and a filmmaker, and on his way to film school, I asked him the summer before we all went off to college if he wanted to like make some web video, just some like stupid, comedy short videos.
Yeah.
Which we did all summer, and it was so fun for me. I wrote them, I performed in them, and kind of directed them. We all directed them together. So that was, I would say, my first exposure to filmmaking.
Yeah.
And then when I got to college, there was no film school at Rutgers. There is now. But I had I found two classes that were in the English department, documentary filmmaking and digital storytelling, which were both taught by a teacher who became my mentor. Her name's Dina Seidel. And she taught me how to edit. And she really kind of pushed myself, and it was about 8 or 10 of us who really dug it into, pursuing this more seriously.
Yeah.
So that was like a very instrumental and formative period in my life. And I just, I guess I got the bug, as they say.
Yeah.
Kept going with it through college. Even while I was in college, I started like freelancing for other departments, like the student affairs.
Like I worked,
all over the school, just
Yeah.
doing like random videos for people.
Like odd jobs and stuff.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, which it's honestly, it's the same for me now. Like I was doing those jobs where people were paying me not much, $100, $200, to make a video for them.
Yeah.
And then I would make these, sort of art pieces that I would like to call them, that were just creative ventures of mine.
Like stuff for fun, like for yourself. Yeah.
Little short films and documentaries.
Yeah.
And, I just loved it. I just loved the process. I loved editing. And then it just became this kind of like loop of, I want to shoot something so that I can edit it,
Yeah.
And then once I was done editing, I was like, well, I got to shoot more to edit more. Fell in love with the process, At that time, it was tape we were working with, like digital. The DSLR revolution, as I like to call it, hadn't quite kicked off.
Yeah.
I think that happened like midway through college.
With what, like the Mark IV, like the 4D?
Yeah, it was the 7D Mark II, I want to say.
I feel like that's the thing for a lot of people when I talk to them. They're like, that is what changed the game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it really is. It was a revolution. Like I firmly believe like that period where you could create like cinematic, high quality video with relatively low costs, you know. It just changed the game.
Yeah.
There was a Canon campaign that I remember happening then, which really showcased the abilities of these cameras.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing those videos and thinking that they looked like movies, you know. And then I saw what they were filmed on. It was, you know, like what we're shooting on now. And
tiny, yeah.
yeah, they just keep getting smaller and smaller and more affordable, you know, more and more affordable. So you suddenly had the ability to create high quality images for relatively low costs. After college, I moved back to North Carolina.
Yeah. Because what part are you from?
Charlotte. And started making, same thing, I just kept it going. I was making videos for like local businesses. I was living at home for the most part. I did end up moving in with a couple friends of mine while I was still down there. But after like a couple years of doing that, I was like, okay, what's next? You know, it's either going to be here, New York, or Los Angeles. And I just found it really tough to like crack into the film world here because I didn't have like a real portfolio yet.
Well, what would you define as like a real portfolio, though?
That's a great question, actually. What is a real portfolio? You know what? I'm going to take that back. I did have a portfolio, but it was not at the level of craft that I think could really garner me work, you know? New York just still felt a little... just felt like a tough thing to crack for me. And I'd never been out to LA, but I went in 2013. I'd never been. Went out just to visit. I had a couple friends out there. And I was like amazed at how easy it was to talk to people. Like I'm talking like Oscar-winning editors and filmmakers.
But just like cold
just
outreach?
cold emailing people, you know. In fact, one of the people that I met was this guy, Jay Cassidy, who has won at least one Oscar for editing. He had just done Silver Linings Playbook and has worked with David O. Russell many times. I got in touch with him through the ACE, which is the Editors Union. Yeah. And the head of the Editors Union basically said, send me letters to editors you want to meet, and I'll pass them along to you. If they want to get in touch, they will. Yeah. So I picked a few of them. Cassidy was one of them. And he invited me to have lunch with him while I was out there on my visit. They were cutting American Hustle. And literally, Amy Adams was on the screen, like Bradley Cooper, you know, and Christian Bale, you know, they were cutting a scene with them. And I was like, this is so cool, you know? Yeah. So I met with him. I met with, he's still a good friend of mine, Adam Robinson, who at the time had just cut Spring Breakers. Now he's runs Cartel, which is based here in LA. And I met with Greg Fenton, who was a documentary editor and had worked with Davis Guggenheim a lot. And they were all just very sweet and generous with their time. So I didn't have that experience in New York, you know? Yeah. I don't know what the difference is, but I was like, all right, this is the spot. I'm gonna come out here.
How long were you in LA then?
Like a week. Yeah, I was out there. I was literally out there for like a week and just met all these amazing people. And by the time I got back to LAX, I was like, all right, this is where I'm gonna go. Yeah. You know? Kind of started saving some money and told myself like I'd move sometime in 2014. It ended up being, I think, March of 2014. So I went out there, crashed on a friend's couch for a little while. Eventually found my own little spot, and same thing. Just started reaching out to producers, and my angle on it was editing, you know, because I didn't think that if I got to LA and said, hey, I'm like here to like direct the next great American film, you know, I just didn't see that maybe that's the sort of like non-risk taker in me. There's many different roles obviously in the filmmaking process, but as an editor, you know, unlike production where it's like go, crazy timelines. In post, it's very calm, you know? You're in these like very plush studios. You're not, you know, you're usually on a timeline, but it's not like...
You have like a nice room.
Yeah, it's just, it's very chill, you know?
Yeah.
And more importantly, you're in the room with the most important people of the project, which is the producer and the director. You get a lot of input into the final creative process, you know, in the final piece or whatever.
Yeah.
So even still, I was out there, I was editing by day, working for various post houses and what have you. Eventually was assigned a project with J. Cole. He came in, again, important people in the room, came into the edit suite one day. We had a really great meeting and hit it off. He was just about to put out his album 2014 Forest Hills Drive and was going to go on a press tour for it.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I wanted to join him on the road. He asked if I could shoot. And I was like, yeah, sure, you know, I can shoot, you know. And I hadn't really done that, but I figured I could figure it out, you know.
On the road.
Yeah.
And you did. I mean, you had a bunch of documentaries come out, and now, what, that was 11 years ago?
Yeah, it was 11 years ago, and the stuff that I was capturing that first, you know, month or two of working together became the first documentary that we licensed to HBO.
Yeah.
Like 18 months later. And my editing came in handy because like I was shooting things on the road, had my laptop, and I would just like cut scenes together.
Yeah.
And they really were responding to the stuff I was kind of piecing together.
Right.
So we just kind of kept doing that. And that, you know, relationship has obviously been really great for me and continues to this day. We've done a ton of stuff together. And I really love working with him and all the people around him. By working with him, that granted me a lot of opportunities as a director because he knew that I was interested in that,
right,
you know, and had done that in the past. You know, it's just sort of blossomed over the years.
Well, it's so funny the way that you're articulating the story because I think you were saying I could have done my day job, which was at that point working with Dreamville. Mm-hmm. But then now you're doing all these other things, mm-hmm, working on these shorts, doing these documentaries. Mm-hmm. What do you think was that switch that flipped for you to be like, okay, I'm a director now?
I don't think it was ever a switch necessarily. I will say I kind of separated those two things, and I think that was, I don't know if it was a mistake, everything happens for a reason, but I sort of saw them as like separate skills that shouldn't really intermingle, because they might take away from the other. Like some directors don't want to work with that. This is in my mind. I thought that some directors wouldn't want to work with an editor who also directs because they might think that I'm like going to throw my weight around too much in the edit.
Right.
And I thought that I wouldn't be taken seriously as a director if people also saw me as an editor. So I always separated those two things to the point where I created an alter ego for my editing career, where I started crediting my editorial work to my late grandmother. Her name's Roberta, well, her maiden name is Roberta Spitz. That was kind of how I separated the work. You know, it was to have like Roberta's over here doing the editorial work, and then Scott Lazer's over here doing the directorial work. And they are the same, but like never the two shall meet, you know?
Yeah.
The reason I started to say that I think that was a mistake is because actually my editing is sort of a superpower that I can utilize as a director and even as an editor, because I have like ideas about the greater story and like what we need to capture to get the edit right. Yeah. That's also beneficial to me as an editor. Frankly, I'm surprised when I meet directors, especially young directors that do so much, who don't know how to edit. Because to me, no shade to people that do that, but it seems like not knowing how to edit is like not knowing how to type as a writer. There's so much tinkering that needs to happen before you find when something works. And if you don't know how to edit, I just don't know how you can like try things.
Yeah, like how are you going to get it done? I mean, and I think like I'll speak for myself, but like I didn't think I was ever like up to snuff when I got to the creative lab. And I mean, you've seen the guys there of just how fast they are. Yep. And I think it was just natural growing up to be like, oh, well, I have to edit. There's no way around it. Like, if I want to make something, then I have to take the footage in.
Yeah.
And then it was just this natural progression, which is why it's so funny that we're talking about this now, because like what you were thinking aligns so much with what I'm currently thinking.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, I have to be an editor first. And then at some point when I'm ready, I'll make the jump to director. But it's like those two things
they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
This coffee is like kind of hitting me now.
Oh, for real? I told you.
You know, when the pandemic hit, what did sort of reveal itself in that time was the opportunity to do a lot of editorial work.
Yeah.
And I leaned into that, out of survival, frankly, because I needed to make money. And that was the best way for me to do that. Over the last, 4 or 5 years, I've really not just done more editorial work, but I've also put myself out there more to other directors who I admire or who I'm friends with to say, hey, like, as a director, collaborating is not something that we would necessarily do. Yeah. But I really respect your work, and it would be fun to make something together. Would you be open to me editing with you? In filmmaking and creative worlds in general, it's very tempting to want all the attention to be directed at you. I have found that when I have made myself available to other filmmakers, it's been a process, but it's been a really humbling experience, and also one that has just opened up more opportunities for me, both on the creative side and on the business side. Yeah. Because, since I've allowed myself to be more open to editing jobs in this last era of my career, it's been my best years for business, just from a billing standpoint. Right. And so there's that sort of writing on the wall. But then also, I really like it. I'm extremely comfortable in the edit. I like doing that, and I know that people that I work with really appreciate having that experience and knowledge and skill set applied to their films. Right. So, I love it when artists are like this too. Like, we should work together, like music artists, that collaboration. Yeah. I feel like directors, maybe that's just out of function of like being the only director, there's only one director usually, unless you're a duo, or in the case of Megaforce, it's like 5 directors that always work together. Just all on top of a project. But in general, directors don't really collaborate with each other. And so I've used my editing skills as a means to collaborate with other directors. I get to kind of like see how they work, how they approach, their project or their film from their, perspective as a director. Right. And that informs me as a director too, because I'm like, it's interesting that you look at something like that way. I may not have like thought of that, or I may not have approached this in that same way. Yeah.
Like you're taking pieces of every project that you're on.
It's just soaking up game,
Soaking up game.
That's and like I said earlier, like when you're in the edit, you're with the most important people in the project. Yeah. So like as the editor working with other directors, like so much creative conversation happens in those moments, and you can't help but soak up game, Yeah.
I think there's a certain level of like fluidity to the work that you're doing, but I think it would be so easy, and what I think we have talked about too in the past was like you're hitting the biggest stage of hip hop and you're working with people like J. Cole, J.I.D., Boss, Dreamville. Yeah. But you didn't stop there, and then you went on to your own things. Yeah. And I think so much of what I think about in my head is like, there's this end game as a director. Like I get to have my name in lights. I get my South by Southwest premiere. Like the things that you're talking about now. But so much I think that I want to hone in on, at least for this conversation, is like you leaving your ego at the door, you collaborating with other people. Yeah. Like, do you think in some ways working with Dreamville and working at that big stage helped you?
Well, one thing that I definitely picked up from working with all the Dreamville artists is like there's such a collective kind of mindset there. Yeah. And so people are always willing to both like make music together as artists, as like the top line artists, or produce for each other, or find samples for someone, like mix and match things. So I think that mentality definitely inform this like collaborative mindset that we're talking about. Point is I'm doing a lot of editing work that I think even 5 years ago I would have said, don't do that because that's going to hinder your directing career. You know, and I didn't have the luxury to do that. You know, because I was like a lot of us struggling to make a living in a dire time for our world.
Right.
But also, I actually love this work, you know? So it's not a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, it only, you know, aids and contributes to my work as a director because I'm just getting reps in, you know? Yeah. They may not be the most interesting reps sometimes, but that's okay. You know, it's like, it's still training and experience. I think really what I've probably, one of the bigger lessons that I've learned, you know, the more I've made stuff is to, of course, trust the process. That's sort of easy. That just happens. But the other thing is not allowing my ego to take the wheel, you know, and being open to your career going in many different directions, some of which may not have been what you initially intended, you know, because I would never have thought that I'd be, you know, doing creative direction for an arena concert tour, like when I first started making films, but my editing work and my directing work led to that. And that is really exciting work that I like doing, you know?
Yeah.
So I think allowing myself to be more open to what types of work I can do has led to pretty, you know, surprising results.
Yeah.
That I've enjoyed.
The expectation of where you thought the career was going to go versus all the things that it spiraled into, like in terms of going to Google, working on your own scripts, your own documentaries, and then like the arena stuff that you did earlier this year, because that was for
that was for the festival.
Which is nuts. It's crazy. And
it was
every year when we were at Chapel Hill, people would be like, "Are you getting tickets to Dreamville this year?" You know, and now it's like, "Oh, I got to work with the dude that was creative directing on the stage for that," and you're still talking about, "I have to check my ego at the door." Like, keep yourself open to jobs. Like, I think that's something I really want to like hone in on. But like now there's still this sort of, I guess, balance, like knowing that, okay, the career could go in so many different ways. There is no, I've done it. Even if you win an Oscar and get to the highest field, it's like you're in it to make stuff. I guess the question now is, having worked on like dream projects and done all this stuff, what are you hoping to get out of filmmaking now in your career?
Being open is like, I don't, like, there are projects that I'm excited to do and that are motivating me, but I don't have the same, I'm just not as rigid about what goals I have for my creative work. To me, it's like, is this exciting me? Is this challenging me? Am I working with people that I like? Am I living the life that I enjoy? Bring up gardening a lot because I think it's such a great lesson that I've learned as I've sort of dabbled in you know, plants and gardening, is like,
because you're doing a lot more gardening these days, right?
I do like to garden. I have a backyard in my place that I've been for the last 3 years, and you know, plant. But the thing with gardening is that there is no end. It's all process. Sometimes you get a good yield and you get to enjoy the literal fruits of your labor. Sometimes it's a little bit of an off year. There is no end, you know? It's just a constant cultivation. And that's been a great lesson for me because, like you were saying, I think I've thought, you know, if I get to this point, I'm good. I will have established myself. When we found out that HBO was going to be involved in our project, we'd made the film and then sold it to them. And, you know, HBO, for me and many other people, is sort of like the top. When we found out that HBO was going to distribute this film, I remember thinking, when this comes out, I will have made it. Like I'm gonna be lit. You know?
Yeah.
And granted, it came out, and I'll never forget the night. It was a broadcast. You know, it was like a 9 p.m. broadcast on like a Friday night or something. But I remember thinking like, all right, I have a movie on HBO. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
You know. And it was a great success. I remember the president of HBO sent us this like really sweet email after the broadcast and said that was an example of HBO at our best. And I was like, damn, that's so sick.
That would have gone straight on my fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Black wall.
And like I said, I thought I was lit. I'm out of here, you know?
Yeah.
Didn't get a single call from it. And that really reset things for me because it was like, oh, right, it's not about any one thing.
Yeah.
It's a body of work over an entire career that really speaks to your talent and expertise and influence as an artist.
What are the parting words for the kids? What do you want the kids to know?
For the kids.
For the kids, what's the advice?
You talking about for filmmaker kids, or just kids in general?
No, not just kids. I don't care about the kids.
Yeah,
Just like the filmmaker kids.
Filmmaker kids?
The ones with cameras and hopes to edit.
I mean, the thing that I always say is, which I kind of touched on, is if you're a young filmmaker and you want to be a director, even if you don't intend to, in the long run, be an editor, learn how to edit. Because, like I said, that's where a project either comes together or falls apart. Learn how to edit, if for nothing else, just so that you know what the process is, and you learn some of the language so that you can effectively communicate to an editor what you want in a film, or a timeline.
I mean, there's something to be said about just like knowing the craft in general.
Yeah.
You don't have to be good at it, but just like being familiar so you can give that direction.
Yeah. Because I really do think that is something that benefits any director. Like gardening. That's right.
That's a whole full circle right
there. That's right.
Dude, I appreciate all the time you just given us.
Yeah, man, of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You want to get out of here?